Where have all the investors gone?
Well, I mean, that's a really good question that we have kind of being posed to us today because there has been a lot of investor activity, especially here in Georgia, and that's kind of lightening up a little bit, or is it? And what I mean by that,
Hmm.
we're going to dig into that
What
a
are their
little bit more.
strategies?
Right, exactly. So my name's Alan Richardson. I'm the managing broker here at Maximum Realty and Realtor Partners.
My name is Bing Richardson. I'm a compliance broker for Maximum One Realty and Realtor Partners.
So like recently, like Zillow just came out and they were like, hey, the market is really balanced. Like if you look at it, if it's a buyer's market or a seller's market, it's really balanced. And we're seeing the same thing. I mean, for sure on the residential side, we're seeing where the number of buyers and sellers are a lot more even. And for a lot of folks in the real estate community, anytime there's change, everyone starts running around like their head's on fire for the most
Yep.
part. And it's not that different in the investor community. Things are like supply and demand is changing some of that, and it's causing our investors to be a little bit,
Apprehensive.
yeah, a little bit.
Well, they're evaluating. They're holding on and see what is the next move that would be most profitable.
Yeah. Now, see, a lot of investors are very motivated by like foreclosures and that kind of stuff. And we have seen lately, if you look at the recent foreclosure data, let me cut to the chase and just be like, there's no foreclosure wave coming. But like if you look right now, foreclosure starts are up. Now they're up compared to 2021 and 2022 when we had a foreclosure moratorium and eviction moratoriums, those kind of things going on. Uh, Properties with foreclosure filings are up compared to those times. Now, the number of foreclosure starts and the number of foreclosure filings, if you compare that to where we've been for the last, 20 years,
Hmm.
we are still historically at some of the lowest levels of foreclosure
Well,
starts and
if you
filings.
want to look at if you look at the graph and the trend, you'll see that the foreclosure have not reached the pre-pandemic mark yet. It's getting close to where it was before pre-pandemic, but if
Well,
you look at graph also, you'll see a decline from what it was back in 2007, 2008. So, you know,
the really interesting thing here is that even though we've seen foreclosure starts ticking up, we've seen foreclosure filings ticking up. The actual completed
mhm.
foreclosures, not. I mean, like, and it could be the banks are just kind of shaking folks a little bit, being like, "Hey,
Well, we're
like
seeing a
you're
lot
acting
more.
wrong," that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. And so, but what we're not seeing is actually completed foreclosures ticking up by any measurable amount. I mean, it's a very small increase, but like what we've seen is that starts are up, filings are up, completions not so much. We are seeing some more short sale activity going on. All this,
Just to
you know.
say that I was going to say one of the reasons why the completion is not completed is because the banks are offering loan modification to these homeowners, the one that can be held,
Yeah.
because they know there's equity in the property and therefore they're basically defer those payments.
But if you are wanting to work with investors, one thing that we hear all the time from investors is, "Hey, I'm looking for those off-market properties. I'm looking for those foreclosures, that kind of stuff." That's not really the place where we're seeing a lot of activity in our marketplace.
No, we're not.
And I just want you to be honest, and we're going to be honest about what we're seeing happen. We're not seeing where like there's all this inventory flying, out there just for investors to gobble up. And so we are seeing more inventory coming on, and that is good for buyers, whether you're an investor or not. But working with investors is one of those things where you kind of got to understand the mind of an investor. For a lot of our investors, they look at different financial
Hmm.
terms that if you want to work with investors, you need to know as well, such as cap rate. Like overall, about 2/3 of investors want a cap rate of at least 6%. That's kind of the going rate. Now, anybody in the world wants a cap rate over 7, but generally speaking, when you can get that 6% mark, 2/3 of your investors are definitely going to be really engaging on there. Our investors are also very conscious about what's happening with interest rates. Now, your investors always end up paying a little bit higher interest rate because it's not going to be their primary residence. And overall, we see where roughly about half of investors need a rate of 6.5 or better. Those are very common terms out there, and it can be found. It's just that most of your investor rates are a little bit higher than that, though. I mean, where are you seeing the investor rates come in?
There,
Sevens?
yeah, and that's what it is, and they're looking for that.
And so we know that investors are looking for these kind of things. We do see that softening over time, but investors are always going to pay just a little bit more on the interest rate side of things. Now, if you ask investors and say, hey, what's the biggest challenge? Because, well, let me back up. We're talking
Back
about
up.
two different types of investors, right? So we have our flippers and we also have our buy and hold people. And we're going
Mm-hmm.
to be talking about both of them. But to just specifically talk about our flippers for right now, what are the biggest challenges that our flippers have out there? Well, honestly, their biggest challenge is working with contractors. So if you have a good access to a network of GCs, contractors, any of the trades, that can be a really good thing. The second biggest issue that they have is actually financing.
Financing.
Now, all of our investors are always sometimes overly creative on the financing side, but that financing is always a big piece. After that, it's going to be about timelines, budgets, permitting, all that kind of stuff. Now, the average flipper out here for most of your flip projects, I think overall, flippers in general want to flip a property in 3 months. That's only about what 15% of flippers can do it in under 3 months. 4 to 6 months is really normal. By the way, that's also what we normally do is flip in 4 to 6 months. That's where probably 2/3 of investors or flippers tend to operate is in that.
Well, if you flip and try to sell within 3 months, you're basically disqualifying any FHA buyer.
Yeah,
So,
or VA. Yeah.
and no VA is fine,
Oh, okay.
just FHA. So, so why would you want to exclude any potential buyer?
Yeah. Now, the folks who take longer than that, those tend to be the new flippers, the ones who don't really know what they're doing, that kind of stuff. So we want you to kind of understand that piece. Now, for our buy and hold investors, what do they say is the most challenging part of building a rental portfolio, that kind of stuff? And hands down, I mean, like this one is really clear. The number one thing that buy and hold investors have a
Find a
challenge with:
deal that cash flows.
cash flow. I mean, with an investment property, you really have four ways that property makes money,
Money.
and so it's going to be cash flow, amortization, depreciation, and okay, my brain just stopped working. Cash flow, amortization, depreciation,
I didn't know
and
where you were
another one.
going
Yeah,
with
yeah,
this.
totally. Yeah, yeah, right there. So when you put all those together, but I
Well,
guess
repairs
what
with
we're really saying is the
vacancies, the
number
other.
biggest one out there is cash flow. For so many buy and hold investors, they want cash flow. And that's a real challenge for buy and hold investors because there's like a sweet spot in price where you can still buy it and cash flow at it, but it's harder to get the higher the price point becomes on a house. But the lower the price point on the house, the bigger headache happens. So that you end up with
Well, the
this little
managing and
buying
the
window.
repairs and also the quality sometimes of the tenant may not be the best one, just because it's a stretch for them to just get the minimum in. And so you got to make sure one, you're not buying in a depressed market where your inventory is not going to have a whole lot of repair and
Yep.
maintenance and what have you. So that's a fine line there. So, and finding an agent that really knows the area and the comps and what the rental market is for that area is important.
Well, but understanding cash flow is king.
Mm-hmm.
You have cash flow,
Yep.
and by the way, my brain started working now. So, cash flow. Then you have depreciation, which we take on our taxes. Then we have amortization, which is when a property, when you pay down that loan on
And
there.
appreciation.
And then we have regular real estate appreciation. All four of those come together to form the basis for making profit on rental properties. But still, cash flow for so many investors is a big deal. So, you as a real estate professional, can you find cash flowing properties? Being able to do that. Now, overall, we have seen where the share of all cash sales has actually been increasing, and it's been high, but those numbers are a little bit skewed,
Mm-hmm.
and that's one thing we want you to understand. Like in the past, it was skewed because we had so many investors. Right now, it's skewed because we have so many boomer
That are
buyers.
buying with cash because they
Yep.
sold their property, if not their second home, and where they actually have the cash to purchase.
So, I mean, a lot of your investors are buying cash, but we're seeing where the number of investors jumping in right now is not as high. Overall, across the U.S., investors tend to buy about a third of all the houses, right? If you look at the purchases, it tends to be just about a third, somewhere in the 30 to 31, 35%, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So about a third of those are still being bought in the U.S. In Atlanta, honestly, Atlanta is probably one of the top five markets in the United States, right? Like we have some markets in Texas and Houston and that kind of stuff, but Atlanta normally comes in the top five, sometimes
Yep.
top three on total investor purchases. Now, but here's the real big kicker, and the thing that we really want to point out to you. There's this institutional myth about investing in real estate, and that is that these big Wall Street companies, the folks up in like these big companies,
The
they're the
industrial.
industrial purchasers. They're pushing out the little guy. All they're doing is just buying up all these houses. Well, the reality is very, very different from all the hype, right? The reality is that they purchase 1.9% of all the properties in the United States. And I get it.
That's still
That's a
huge.
lot of properties in
Still
the US. It's
huge.
still it's still massive, but like when you look at of that third of of investment properties, only 2% goes to the big
Mm-hmm.
guys. Where's the other 25, 27, 29% of investor purchases come from? They come from the little guys. They come from people like us. And
Yep.
so like we're seeing where these institutions, these big companies right now, these big companies are retreating from the market. These big institutional buyers, they're pulling back a little bit. And that's not bad news for other investors. Like I don't care if they make any money at all. Not to be mean about it. It's really true,
Nice.
right? So like the big institutional buyers, they're who's backing off right now. But what this means is that there is great opportunity for small time investors and agents. And by the way, the small time investor, that's the big time buyer in the investing community, right?
And consolidation.
Yeah, small players, mom and pop investors, that kind of stuff. They're the ones who's buying the bulk of these homes anyway. So just the fact that the people who represent 2% of the investing world are backing off, who cares? Not to be mean about it. I mean, most of the time, like this is all Wall Street stuff. But for most real estate professionals, we're not working with the big companies. Now, they may buy a property from us that we have listed, but generally speaking, we're going to be doing a lot more representation on the sellers and on the buyers who are investors. We're not going to be generally representing, these big time companies and that kind of stuff. There are some people out there, but understand that mom and pop landlords are the largest owner of single family rentals, right? Almost 90% of single family rentals, 89.6% of all single family rentals are by regular Joes, just
And
normal
this
people.
this data came from batch data, just so you know.
Yeah, I mean, but like almost 90% of properties, investment properties, are owned by people that own less than five. We're not talking big multinational conglomerates and that kind of stuff. We're talking about small time investors own the vast majority of rental properties. Now, if you were to say, hey, real estate investors, where do you go to find the deals? Like what are you looking out there? And The sad state of affairs, if I'm just going to be really honest with you, is they look the same place where a lot of other buyers look online.
Mm-hmm.
They go to Zillow, they go to Redfin and open, all that kind of stuff. Um, Unfortunately, only around 12% of investors have a go-to agent, where a local realtor, a local real estate professional, where they go to 12%. And that, to me, when you look at, here's a market segment that represents almost a third of the properties being bought and sold, and we only have relationships with about 12. I mean, only about 12% have a relationship with a local realtor. That just blows my mind about the massive opportunity, and also like the unserved need. Like, our investors need agents who are looking out for them, who understand what it's like to work with investors out there. So like there's some creative things that investors will do always, like all of our investors are always looking for off market deals, and they're scouring the Facebook groups and that kind of stuff. And I get that. But let's face it, who has access to most of the properties?
We do.
So who should be reaching out and engaging to them? 100%.
Us.
Now, the other interesting, we also got this other piece of data that I really want to share with you, right? And then they went and so like, well, let me.
This is a survey based on Stessa Resi Club real estate investor.
Right, but whether you're talking flippers, now flippers are always looking for property,
Mm-hmm.
always, because every time they sell a house,
They
they're
got to buy another
unemployed,
one.
right?
Yeah.
They don't have anything to do. So our flippers are 100% always looking for additional properties. So anytime you see a flipper, that's a potential sale for you. What about for our buy and hold investors, though? What percentage of our buy and hold investment investors are looking for an additional rental property? Right now, it's about 44%. 44%. So, like, if you're like, oh, I don't know who I should talk to about buying, anybody that owns a rental property, 4 out of 10 of them are going to be looking to acquire another rental property. This is a really good market to be looking at. So whether you're talking about the flippers that we know, 100% of them are looking to buy if they can find their property at the right price, and 40% of your property owners of your rental folks are looking to do that again. Roughly 75% of your flippers are looking for a flipping another deal. We know that there is a lot of activity going on both sides of the coin here, whether you're a flipper, whether you're a buy and hold person out there. My thing is that I see so many agents that don't understand the value that they bring to a real estate
Well, and
transaction
that they're
for
not
the investors.
communicating what they do. I mean, sometimes they think it's just a residential buy and sell, but we're as well versed in investment as well.
Well, and the principles are the same. It's still supply versus demand. It's still days on market. It's still, like we have to make sure the properties are going to show right. The great part about working with an investor is they in most cases they can get the property looking the way that they
Hmm.
want it in order to maximize the type of return out there. I don't see where we do a good job of communicating that value into the investor community. I think that we kind of sit back and wait for them to call us.
Well, if you want to, I will highly suggest you learn some of their lingo. If not, attend some of the investment group and
I mean, we
just
teach
peek.
investing classes, right?
Yes, and just peek on what is it they're looking for.
Yeah. So listen, the investors need you. They need you
Absolutely,
to be able to talk about find them cash flow properties, find properties that they can flip. And oh, by the way, when you help them find a property to flip, I want you to use me to sell it
that's
too
right.
afterwards, right? So please, what we're really imploring you here is reach out, engage, and win in investing, working with investors.
Well, thank you for watching our segment in Real Estate Backstory
Yep.
this week, and we look forward to seeing you next week. And just remember, all the information we give are time sensitive to the market at the time we are talking about the real estate environment.
Yeah.
So, thank you very much. We'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Take care.